going on YouTube? Dylan here with TheByesRegret, and we're here with, what's your name?
Carl Stanton.
Carl Stanton. And Carl, what did you pilot today at GGP Philly?
I piloted a deck called Library FTK.
Hell yeah. What's the general purpose of this deck, Carl?
The purpose of the deck is to take a lot of game actions and draw a lot of cards and damage your own life total until you get your life total to 500 or below. When you get to 500 or below, and you make sure you have active Last Will, and you have a Toon Cannon Soldier in your deck.
Right.
You cast Reversal Quiz,
Right.
which everyone tonight had to read. Reversal Quiz sacks all your stuff from your board, kills all your stuff from your board, puts all stuff in your hand in the graveyard, and then you name a card type. If that card type's on top of your deck, you trade your life totals with your opponent. So if I knock my life total to 500, now all of a sudden my life total is my opponent's life total, my opponent's at 500.
Right.
Last Will then triggers, another Prix, you have to have Royal Magical Library in play. Royal Magical Library is killed by Reversal Quiz. Resolving. That triggers Last Will.
Right.
Last Will retrieves Toon Cannon Soldier from the deck. Toon Cannon Soldier then gets activated to hit your opponent for 500 damage.
Right.
And since they're now less than 500 life, they're now dead.
Exactly. All right, yeah, let's get right into this shit.
So, the engine of there's a lot of ways to draw cards in this deck. There's Upstart Goblin, there's, Card Destruction, Pot of Greed, Graceful Charity. The real, what I'd call engine of the deck is obviously Royal Magical Library, which gets a counter every time anyone plays a spell. You can remove 3 counters, draw a card.
Right.
The other engine of the deck is the combination of these two cards, Convulsion of Nature and Archfiend's Oath.
The bane of dueling network's existence. Convulsion of Nature.
Convulsion of Nature inverts both players' decks.
Right.
Puts them face-ups, and the bottom is the top, top is the bottom. Now, Archfiend's Oath, you pay 500 to name a card. If that card is the top card of your deck, you get to draw it.
Right.
Obviously, with Convulsion, now you can see what the top card of your deck is.
Right.
So every time, you can now activate information to every time draw a card.
Right.
So you use these to draw cards, and then you use, Giant Trunade.
Right.
Pricks up all your spells from the field.
Right.
So you play Convulsion, you play Oath, you play maybe another Oath or another continuous spell, put counters in your library, draw cards, play a Trunade, Giant Trunade, pick it all up, put it back down again, draw more cards, continue. There's a bunch of ways to rebuy cards, including Trunade. There's 3 Feather of the Phoenix, which puts a card on top of your deck. There's 3 Spell Reproductions, puts a card back in your hand. Usually you're rebuying Giant Trunades with those.
Right.
To keep, picking up your board and putting it back.
All while drawing cards with Royal Magical Library.
Exactly. Or, random other things you pick up. Archfiend's Oath draws cards too, or you draw into one of your other engine cards.
Right.
And then there's also some cards that add some consistency to the deck, the big one being Reload, which basically resets your hand.
Right.
Often your hand gets really big. I've reloaded for 6, 7 cards routinely. Because you get a bunch of Thunder Dragons and libraries in your hand you don't want there. You can reload it away and just draw back into cards to keep going. Toon Table of Contents is free spells plus tutors out Toon World, which all it does is make you pay 1,000 life, but since you're trying to get your life total low, that's really good.
Right.
Another continuous effect you then pick up and put down with Trunade. Trunade has the advantage of resetting your opponent's set cards too.
Right.
So if they have anything to interfere with you, it is now put up.
Hell yeah.
And then there's 2 protection cards in the deck if you can't go off on turn 1, which is Level Limit Area Beast.
Right.
This card was an absolute house. It single-handedly won me at least 3 games, maybe more.
Right.
And I had multiple games where I played this on turn 1 and then we just sat there until about turn 7 or turn 8.
Right.
And the other thing Level Limit Area B does is it puts Royal Magical Library into defense position.
Right.
The Royal Magical Library doesn't have any attack, but it has 2,000 defense.
It's a big boy.
So it's a wall, basically, with Level Limit in play. The 2 copies of Last Will I explained before for the combo. They're also a way to get Royal Magical Library into play.
Right.
Sometimes you can play a Last Will on turn 1, Toon Table of Contents for Toon Cannon Soldier, trigger Last Will, bring a library into play in defense position,
And go off from
special
there.
summon, and either go off or now you have a wall.
Right.
And then you can rebuy your Last Will or rebuy your Toon Cannon Soldier later with Feather or Spell Reproduction into Feather to get it back in your deck.
Right. Now, what do you do if this deck doesn't go off game 1?
Actually, it's what you do if you do go off game 1. If you win game 1, there's a transformational sideboard. Right. So you sideboard out the Convulsions, the Libraries, the Thunder Dragons, the Oaths, the level limits, and the Toon World. And you bring in 3 copies of Cyberstein, 3 copies of Megamorph, 2 copies of Limiter Removal, a 3rd Last Will, a Heavy Storm, a Mystical Space Typhoon, a Fusilier Dragon, and 3 copies of Reason. And basically play as a Cyberstein combo.
Hell yeah, Steingate for the win, baby.
And since you've got tons of card draw and reloads and stuff, you've got tons of ways to find Cyberstein.
Right. Any shout-outs you want to give before we finish up?
Shout out to my friend CG, Cameron, CG on Discord, who convinced me to play in this tournament.
Hell yeah. All right, thanks so much, man.
Yeah.